Hey guys, so I decided my first video here is going to be a video update on Scream 6. I guess how this is going to work is I'm just going to kind of go over what I'm doing with Scream 6 a little bit, rather than just tweeting out exactly. I think I'm going to do a lot of my updates like this, and then I'm going to put them on Twitter so you guys can see it a little bit more. So, the idea with Scream 6, it's actually interesting because when I started Scream 5, the idea was just to do a one-off. I had no intention to make it a sequel. About halfway through the first draft of Scream 5, I think, a question presented itself, which was that I had written a whole bunch of these deaths, but I wasn't quite sure who killed who. I think that was a little bit because the killer kept changing, which I'll discuss in another video. But the question still remained, did I want to make it 3 killers? Now, that's a big change to add into the script that late. So my decision was, what if I left it open to viewer interpretation? That idea left it open, but didn't quite have the after the credits scene. Now, I guess once I got to the ending of the actual script itself, I said, oh, come on, I gotta throw some sequel bait in there, right? If I'm going to do a trilogy, I might as well say, hey, this is what's happening. So I ended up writing the after the credits with Sam and Ambulance right on the fly. Ended up being the best decision I made because that was the thing that everybody remembered most about the first draft was, man, I really want to know who that third killer is. And we're definitely going to find out who it was at the end of Scream 6. And what that has to do with Scream 7, I can't really tell. But it's going to go in some interesting places that I'm really excited about. Either way, I think that the best way to start off with how I'm going to do what I'm going to do with Scream 6 is going to be a commentary a lot about something that's really has to do with me too, but I think it has to do with a lot of the fan base and a lot of horror fan bases in general. We find such serial killers so interesting, don't we? There's all these podcasts, there's YouTube channels, there's entire books dedicated to the psychology of a serial killer. And part of me letting Sam live at the end of Scream 5 was I wanted to deep dive into that. I wanted to deep dive into our obsession with serial killers and what makes them so interesting to us. And I really liked that idea, so I left Sam alive, and that's where kind of Scream 6 was born plot-wise, was the idea that we're going to pick up about a year after Scream 5 ended. And the world knows that there's a silent partner that Sam had, and she's not talking. And this has created a media storm, obviously, because there's a huge murder trial going on across the country against her, and she's not playing all her cards. She's saying, hey, I know someone's still out there, and I'm going to wreak more havoc, but you're never going to know who. Not until the timing's right. So where we pick up with our survivors is the idea that, oh, okay, you want to play that kind of game, we're all going to get the heck out of Woodsboro for the time being while the trial's going on. Obviously, they do their testimonies and all that well in advance. And they go out to, and I know this is going to make a lot of people happy, they go out to a cabin or / ski lodge owned by Kirby Reed. Her dad runs a ski lodge that is sort of like, I kind of am developing it into sort of, I guess the best way to put it is Overlook Hotel. It's got that kind of vibe. So we're going to get Christmas time, winter, Ghostface is going to be in the snow, which I'm really excited about. I've been trying to do that since 2011, and it's never worked out, but this time it's finally doing the job. So basically, they all go out there for Christmas and are like, okay, let Sam do her thing and whatever. And of course, we all know how that's going to go. You get all the survivors in one room, and what happens? Chaos. So the cool idea is that we're taking Ghostface away from the city, we're taking him away from big places and college towns and all that stuff, and I don't even plan to put college in this script. In fact, Tara and Mindy are actually going to skip college entirely, which is kind of interesting because I think that a lot of people think you have to go to college to get forward in life, but I wanted to kind of develop these characters as sort of like the millennial mindset that you could also do things without being in college, which I think is a good one. I know a lot of successful people that never went to college. Therefore, I wanted to kind of represent that with Mindy and Tara. where that leaves Richie is that Richie is sort of, interestingly enough, he's taken a sabbatical from his work life and everything, and I want to say he's kind of an alcoholic in this script, and I kind of find that interesting because I've never really dealt with that in a Scream script, dealing with like the fallout and how some people turn to drinking to cope with what happened to them. And I'm going to do a lot of that with Richie in the script, and I really like that. As far as psychologically how Mindy and Tara are going, Mindy's Mindy. I really loved writing her because she's just very much an open book, and it's going to continue that way. You're going to know her mental state right away. Tara's the more interesting one. Tara in this script is going to take a little bit from Scream 2022. You know how Sam sort of looks like she's got that whole mental state that's sort of in disarray going on? That's going to be attributed to Tara in this one. I kind of am like doing a Sidney and Scream 2 vibe. There's going to be a lot of nightmares. There's going to be a lot of moments where you're not really sure how Tara is handling it, and she's internalizing a lot of this. So that's what's going to make it interesting, because it's a lot about how someone copes. I guess that's the best way to put Scream 6 is it's a lot about coping with death and dismemberment, coping with how we handle tragedy. And I'm really excited about that because I don't think a lot of horror talks about that enough. I really like the Halloween movies because Halloween 2018 did a lot of this. It was about trauma. I kind of want to do the same thing with Scream 6. It's really cool. I also want to confirm that Sidney, Gale, and Dewey are in this, but this is the last time we're going to see them. They may not outlive Scream 5. I'm not going to tell you right here if they all make it out of Scream 6. But the point is that I think that this is like, I guess the best way I'm describing it right now is that Scream 4, 5, and 6 form one trilogy, and Scream 5, 6, and 7 also form a trilogy. This one's taking the steps to finish off the story of the trio that started in Scream 4, but it's also acting as a middle chapter for the new people that we learned of in Scream 5. Is that a little confusing? Maybe, but I really think that's going to end it in a way that's so nice, and that you'll be able to seamlessly move into Scream 7 without the trio, and it'll make sense that they've had their moment, and this is the perfect way to end it. I'm really excited for how I end their story here. Especially Sidney. I have so much fun stuff I'm going to be doing with Sidney in the script. You know, she's got a boyfriend. I'm going to confirm that now. She's not Mark Kincaid. Unfortunately, you know, I really love Mark, but I've written like 6 or 7 scripts with the guy as Sidney's love interest, and I felt like it was time to introduce someone new, right? So, early in Scream 5, I had a husband for her named Matt, and that character's getting put into Scream 6 as her boyfriend. And what makes that fun is that she has also got a son that he is coming and pulling along for the ride. His name is Noah, and he is kind of a jerk. And I kind of like playing the dynamics that Sidney's really trying to be this great stepmom to him. But, you know, you can only do so much. I'm really excited to play with those dynamics. I want to show a different side of Sidney in this, especially because it's her last time that we're going to be seeing her. I wanted to make sure that she kind of got to do some of the things that I didn't get to do in Scream 5, and they did do through the first 4, that I really wanted to see out of Sidney. I wanted to see her grow as a character to the point where you're happy with where she's left at. I'm trying so hard not to spoil it. I guess I'll take a little time to talk about Kirby, because I know that a lot of people are in the Kirby should have been alive camp. I know I am. I've kind of come to the acceptance that she isn't probably alive. And if that's the case, that sucks, but what can I do? Either way, I really am a big Ham Pantier fan, and she was already in the bones of Scream 6, and she actually was almost in Scream 5. Which is interesting, but she was kind of taken out, and then I put her as references, and it didn't quite work out. Like, people read the test draft, and they were sort of like, I like that Kirby's alive, but do we really need these lines of dialogue? The lines of dialogue kind of distract from what the main story is supposed to be. So, it was cut. But the point is, Kirby's alive. there's a lot I could say about Kirby. She's got a new boyfriend. She is... I guess the best way to put it is that Kirby is a little bit of a star, not big time. She's like one of those indie horror film stars that you see in Up and Up. Sort of like, you know, she's starting sci-fi original types things, and I don't think her life's going the way she wanted it to, but she's trying to make the most of it in that sense. And I really want to deal with her psychology too, because I feel like not a lot of scripts talk about it. There are a lot of scripts about her as the final girl, but not a lot of them focus on just how traumatizing it is to have someone try and kill you. That's your boyfriend and your best friend. I mean, come on, guys. I was guilty of this too. I mean, I wrote a sequel to the original Scream 4 that I know at least a couple of you read and was god-awful. But I think now looking at it from the eye of someone who is 30 instead of, I want to say I was like 20 when Scream came out? No, I was about to turn 20. That's right. And she... I don't know, it's really hard to talk about Kirby because I really want to keep some of my secrets and not show all my cards. But Kirby's pretty awesome, and I do have a great role written for her. I can assure you of that. Let's see here. What else can I talk about? The big thing I want to talk about is that this isn't going to be a commentary on what you're expecting. I know the current Scream 2022 is about legacy sequels, and believe it or not, this is actually going to be about that too. I talk about Scream 5 being about like how you reboot it well instead of remake it, and the legacy sequel is sort of like the passing of the torch. Since Scream 5 didn't really pass the torch all the way, Scream 6, in my version, is going to be where we see that passing of from the old to the new guard. Now, what that means if I'm going to have more than just a trilogy, I don't really know. Right now, it is just a trilogy. But the idea is to kind of cover those bases, to cover like the Halloween and Halloween Kills and the Candyman and things like that. Because I think that I didn't get to cover that a ton in the last one. Yes, they did say that they were Halloween 2018 I Am the Stab franchise and Scream 5, but this is more of the real, like, moving it into the Halloween 2018 territory. It's going to be a lot more Tara story, and it's going to be a lot of self-discovery on what it means to be the new generation. How do you live up to those expectations? And I think that also plays into the psychology bit that I'm trying to do with this script. And I hope people really like that, because I haven't tried this take on it before, and I'm really excited to actually do something a little different. You know? Let's see. I think that's a lot of what I've wanted to say, at least right now, about Scream 6. I mean, I'm going to go into a lot more, and I'm going to give a lot of updates. We're going to do a little bit of Q&A. I just really wanted to kind of get the first little bits of information out there so you guys could enjoy and feel like you're not totally in the dark. Like, I'm not just going to disappear on you for a month. Because, like I said, I'm going to really keep my updates to a minimum on Twitter and other social media until everyone's read it, so that they don't just go and read a bunch of giant spoilers. Where's the fun in that, right? And it's sort of like reading spoilers for Scream 2022. Like, why would I want to know who the killer is? So I'm really going to do a lot of videos like this. Probably a little bit of character descriptions, maybe deep dives into some of the new characters and some of the older characters too. I guess I'd like to end this video by asking a couple questions. Maybe you guys can leave me some comments that about what you want to see in my Scream 6. You know, what kind of things are you looking forward to? What kind of Christmas vibes do you want? Do you think it'd be cool for Ghostface to have a different robe, like maybe white, because it's Christmas time and he's in the snow? That's kind of one thing I've been playing with a little bit. I don't know. My friend suggested that, and I've kind of got a few ideas, but I'm not really sure. Who do you want to see make it through this one, and which character are you most looking forward to seeing? I really want to know which of the returning characters you're most looking forward to seeing back in action. Until next time, this has been Chris's Horror Crypt.